Hello guys and welcome to the WCA Open Qualifiers day number 2. Today we have 4 matches for you. We'll decide which players go to China and which player doesn't get anything.
Yeah, it's a big deal, isn't it? I mean, we've got these 4 matches and we've got these 4 players that out of all 4, 3 are going to go and 1's going to actually just stay home and not get to go on that pretty crazy journey, actually.
Yeah, a lot of prize money online as well. $8,000 for first place, $3,000 for second place, $1,500 for third place, $0 for fourth place, no trip to China. It is quite tragic, but this is how tournaments work, right?
Yeah, and there's just been 3 spots available to join some of the other players that have qualified through the Pro Qualifier. It's a pretty big deal, and like I say, we've got yesterday we went through the top 8 to get the top 4, and now the top 4 are battering it out definitely for first place. They definitely want to win this tournament, but a lot of it is probably riding on this China trip.
So yesterday we did have 8 players battle it out. We have a bracket for you as well. So if you didn't tune into yesterday, you can have a look what happened. So Crane went through and Alex from the top end of the bracket, full remote, falling short there against C4mlann and gaara beating Duedo. Born to Win and Hallmark are 2 kind of unknown players to us. Like, we know Fallen Remote from kind of past events we've done.
Yeah.
So gaara and Crane were the ones we expected to go through. Would you agree?
Yeah, you'd have to say these 2 guys are on professional teams. We've seen them in other tournaments and do really well in terms of online qualifiers as well. So yeah, on paper, just looking at the names we have there, you'd expect Crane and gaara to do really well. And you know, both players went through into top 4, so that's really good.
So we'll actually be starting with C4mlann versus gaara first. Alex has been held up a little bit at the moment, so Crane and Alex will be coming after that match. Be sure to keep in mind as well, this was a 512-man bracket with loads of professional teams playing. Dignitas, SK, Navi, you name them, they all participated, and these are the only guys who are left.
Yeah, to battle through that kind of bracket is insane as well. You know, 512 man in the best of 3 conquest. To just battle through that, just to get top 8 is quite an achievement for these guys. So all 8, even the guys who unfortunately had to get knocked out yesterday, got to be pretty happy with themselves, to be honest.
So actually looks like these guys are ready to go. gaara versus C4mlann. I keep trying to call him C4mlann.
That name is ruining you.
Yeah, that name is ruining me. Anyway, we're going into the game here. Druid versus Paladin. It looks like C4mlann. I will get it right. C4mlann, who is Havian in his battle tag. It will be starting off with the Druid here, and gaara going with that Paladin. His Paladin is very interesting, actually. We got to see it yesterday, and he's made some interesting choices.
Yeah, I mean, we see the Zombie Chow, which is becoming a bit more and more popular in Secret Paladin. Again, at the end of the day, Zombie Chow is normally anti-aggro card. That's what we've seen it on in the past. But also, you know, having anti-aggro to be able to push through towards that turn 6 a lot safer to negate some of the more aggressive decks we see is huge. And we'll already see now, we see C4mlann's crazy mech druid that we saw. And, you know, this Zombie Chow is going to do a lot of work being able to at least clear up the Clockwork Gnome, but we might well see a coin mech warper into Clockwork Gnome, which seems pretty decent play to me. It does seem will be a lot of resources, but a Paladin on turn 2 hasn't got a lot of options to be able to deal with both.
Yeah, C4mlann can definitely accelerate his board here and his ramp both ways, kind of with the mech synergy and with just a natural ramp from Aspirant. Like you said, Paladins can struggle to find that extra bit of damage in these earlier turns, relying on stuff like Muster for battle on turn 3 and True Silver Champion on turn 4 to be able to clear stuff with kind of free health. So this Zombie Chow is not going to be able to do a lot on his own. But this mech druid, he had a very poor hand with it. His first game yesterday, where he drew like double swipe, double savage roar. It was terrible for him. But this hand, on the other, is looking completely different and a lot better.
Yeah, and he does choose to commit to Dice Aspirant, because I think the reason here is that it opens up maybe a few more options from next turn, depending on what he draws. And Paladin, with only 2 mana, and he knows there isn't a coin there because the Druid has the coin, then there's no muster. So to deal additional damage would need something like a Zombie, not a Zombie Chow, sorry, that's what's on the board. Need an Abusive Sergeant to buff the Zombie Chow. And again, this just makes it a little bit awkward for gaara here. Can't really clear off, so there's going to be that additional 3rd mana crystal, which we can see doesn't really affect C4mlann too much in terms of what his play is going to be. But if he'd drawn something else, maybe another mech, then it would have been a lot easier. If he'd drawn another mech warper, for example, he could have actually played both mech warpers and the Clockwork Gnome.
Like you said, the Aspirant not really doing a lot here because the mech warper lets him cheat out the Clockwork Gnome on it anyway. And the Zombie Chow does hit the Aspirant because he doesn't want the ramp to stick around. He doesn't want his zombie gyro to be cleared by a Wrath, and then his Haunted Creeper can't do anything to it. So he sacrificed the 2 health from his zombie gyro just so he can guarantee that his Haunted Creeper will be able to deal with the Aspirant, even if it gets popped. It'd be very hard for this Druid to clear everything without like an Innovate swipe, for example.
Yeah, and we can see c4mlann there. He is going to go for the trade on the zombie chow. I think either way, it was a bit of a given, and this leaves less options for gaara, because if he didn't trade with the zombie chow could maybe go into something else and do its extra like 2 damage, whereas the creeper was always going to be able to clear that 1 health minion for the Dionysus Aspirant.
Knife Juggler, very nice here. Going to get that synergy with the daggers. 1 goes to face, and 1 goes to the Mech Warper. So these spiders alone, but swipe can't be used now because the Aspirant was taken out, so he's back to 3 mana. 2 Fel Reavers ready to be dropped onto the field here, but they're going to take a while to come down because for sure this Mech Warper is not going to stick around.
Yeah, that's going to be really tough. The Aspirant being, again, this is the power of the zombie chow. You know, a lot of Secret Paladin decks or decks on this style didn't really, haven't really played zombie chow until fairly recently, and that just dropping it down means you don't have to coin a mini bot for that same kind of power. And it, you know, it dealt with the Aspirant. It wouldn't have been able to happen otherwise. So it's a pretty big deal, and just locked out pretty much all of c4mlann's next turn. So he's gonna stealth his Mech Warper and not trade into the Juggler, which is an interesting choice because the problem is next turn guarding his Mech Warper doesn't change much in terms of. He wants to go for the Fel Reaver, but by leaving the Juggler up, it makes swipe much more likely anyway. So it looks like he probably wants to swipe next turn regardless. So a bit of a strange one, because now he just might take a few hits from the Juggler. If Muster was available, for example, 3 Juggle chances onto a 2/2 stealth is pretty reasonable.
It's interesting he's gone for the true Silver Champion here, actually. I mean, I would have liked to just keep developing, but he doesn't even use a charge as well. I mean, Quartermaster's not really going to do a lot next turn on 5, just to go obviously for 6, but looks like he's holding onto this True Silver, waiting to see what mech comes down. He's expecting something at least. But like you said, this looks like a nice swipe turn. But you can play a bit patient here. Wait till the Muster comes down. Just go for the trade here on the Knife Juggler. And now that 8/8 is going to sit there and cause some havoc.
Yeah, I think the Fel Reaver is definitely the play there. It's the idea of c4mlann not knowing what was coming out from gaara, so the swipe looked very likely to follow up with. Whereas now, obviously, with no additional minions played, the Fel Reaver becomes a bit more of a realistic play, and that's potentially why gaara used the True Silver. If he started popping out some more minions, then swipe becomes even better, and regardless of whether he killed the Mech Warper or not, turn 4 is still a big swipe turn, and swipe against Paladin changes the whole game.
Yeah, if he had the Shredder, I mean, he played around swipe. If he had played the Shredder beforehand, we might have not seen a Fel Reaver, we might have seen a swipe. But if he did just go for the Fel Reaver and trade into the Knife Juggler, he would have had the weapon and the Pilot Shredder to deal with the Fel Reaver. But it looks like he's going to have to face tank some 8/8s.
Yeah, there's a couple of options here. I mean, c4mlann can... I think the Fel Reaver should go face.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Almost certainly. But he can either throw down a second Fel Reaver and say, now you got to deal with 2, or he can actually swipe the Shredder, clear the 1/1 tokens off, and the likelihood of a Shredder being, the drop it leaves being strong enough to trade as well as the weapon into Fel Reaver is really low. We see it's actually 1 damage off being able to do weapon. So now we look at gaara's hand, and he actually still can't answer this Fel Reaver.
And this is the power of Fel Reaver recently, and Fel Reaver seems to be the card that can make any aggro deck good. I mean, look how many decks have just stuck a Fel Reaver into their aggro builds. Druids, Shamans, Mages. It's just a nice stable 8/8, which has a lot of power on 5 for an aggro deck. And now he's just played the Justica. It's not going to really do a lot.
Yeah.
This Paladin has no real pressure to this Druid.
I do think, though, gaara's made a sort of conscious choice. I think he's so far in that he almost has to go aggressive. Because if you look, the Druid is only on 16, and there's 13 points of damage already on the board. So it's a little bit dangerous here, depending on what the Paladin could have. But we can see that there's not much burst coming out. There's no Blessing of Kings. And there's obviously, as he already has True Silver, there's not going to be a surprise weapon come out of nowhere for an extra additional damage.
I mean, this is the problem Paladin has traditionally had, having finding that extra bit of damage, that extra bit of push to be able to finish off their opponents, only having stuff like True Silver. Blessing of Kings has only become popular since Secret Paladins come around because they use a lot of 1/1s, a lot of tokens. And yeah, gaara just doesn't have the punch he needs to be able to take c4mlann out of the game here. And double Fel Reaver, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, so Fel Reaver against Secret Paladin is normally really strong unless they get the sacrificial. Not sacrificial, I did this again yesterday. I did this again yesterday.
It's the same.
What's the name of that card?
Noble Sacrifice.
Noble Sacrifice. So it's got Sacrifice. That's going to haunt me now. If it has to run into a Noble Sacrifice as just that minion on the board, obviously that's not great for the Fel Reaver. But anything else, the Secret Paladin doesn't normally give it too much trouble, and they don't really normally run Equalities or Big Game Hunters either. So it's really difficult. And then the second you drop a second Fel Reaver, c4mlann can burn all the cards in his deck. He doesn't care anymore.
I mean, Repentance is the only card that can deal with a Fel Reaver kind of efficiently, you know, reducing his health to 1, much like Equality, but it's situational, very situational, and you only want to really find it off the Mysterious Challenger, which obviously gaara didn't have, and it looks like c4mlann is actually going to take game number 1 with, and then an Orthodox kind of Druid here. The Mech Druid is going to be able to take the first game. Yeah,
and that was, I mean, double Fel Reaver, that's the reason this card is played in a lot of aggressive decks, and maybe some other decks in general as well. If your opponent can't answer it, then you're in some major trouble. You know, you're really far ahead, and the second it gets 1 hit and then 2 hits, that's a lot of damage, or even a lot of trades that forces your opponent to either make some awkward plays, but without an instant Big Game Hunter or, say, an Execute, or things like that to deal with it, you're in some major trouble because you just don't care about burning the cards at this point.
And in these Paladin decks, you don't generally see Equality anymore, unless it's the more mid-range, just the pure mid-range variants. And even then, some of them might not run Equality. But like back in the day, you know, Paladins were running 2 Equalities in the decks, and it's now been down to 0.
Yeah, or like variants. 1 at a push, you know, exactly. Anything like that.
So this is where Fel Reaver becomes very strong in kind of a metagame like this, especially the metagame that is currently in development. We're still kind of going through a transition of patrons losing some of their power.
Yeah, but we are going into game 2 now, so c4mlann has got his Hunter, and we saw yesterday the top deck Leroy for a very surprising amount of burst, because even most aggressive hunters don't run Leroy anymore. It's more of maybe a sort of style pick or something to catch your opponent off guard. So he has got a okay start. Abusive Sergeant turn 1's never fantastic, but it's better than nothing. But gaara's doing what Paladin does and draws well with 2 shielded mini bots, one after the other with the coin. Andy already has a Consecrate if the board is built up. Andy has Knife Juggler, and now a Zombie Chow. You know, if gaara's ever going to beat this deck, beat the aggressive hunter with this Paladin, this is the hand you want for it. I mean, it's going to be really difficult.
I mean, shielded mini bot, potentially the best 2-drop in the game, getting them back-to-back turn 1, turn 2. Following up with a Knife Juggler, Zombie Chow against a deck like Face Hunter, you've just got too many minions to trade away, and it'll really limit the Hunter's reach with damage, because they do rely on minion control, especially in the first 3 turns, to be able to push through. But, you know, you can't count out Face Hunter, especially when they're packing Leroy in the back. He could find enough damage in the next 2-3 turns to really put pressure on.
And Face Hunter normally runs Explosive Trap as well, so that's why it normally performs very well versus Paladin. They have a lot of cheap minis. As we can see on the board, if he had Explosive Trap in hand, then like how strong is that? You know, you don't quite kill the Zombie Chow, but you kill off the Minibot and the Juggler, and you could still Hero Power or play the Owl if you really wanted to onto the Juggler and maybe just leave that and hope for the best. But he has actually gone for the Animal Companion and gets Misha, which is probably the best outcome. Soaks up 2 of the minions. The Juggler is still left on the board, and getting that Noble Sacrifice down that I actually managed to say is going to be really strong versus Hunter, because a lot of their damage is minion based.
And Huffer, although 4 to face, is very pleasing. It gets killed by Knife Juggler way too easy. It gets taken out by just a Zombie Chow near his own. A lot of pressure from the Paladin here. And he gets rid of that Zombie Chow quite early as well. So c4mlann didn't feel kind of like the benefits of the Zombie Chow, kind of putting him back in the game. But it looks like that Noble Sacrifice is going to be able to stall c4mlann even further. So would he go? The thing is now, the Hunter needs to start using his Hero Power, especially as Face Hunter. You need to Hero Power every turn if you can from now on. And again, the Huffer as well is just terrible. But he's got to pop it somehow, right? He's got to pop this trap. But Hover is so high value when it comes to playing face under, and the Noble Sacrifice is just going to
at least it soaked up the juggle.
Yeah,
there's a small, you know, you got to get the silver line in these type of games. The problem now is I think CrossFire's almost certainly going to have to hold on for Unleash the Hounds before he plays that knife juggler, because you just won't get the value otherwise, because popping like a 1-1 doesn't really change anything in this match, because the Paladins can always just slam hero power, and we might even see Gaara. Yeah, Gaara's going to just float 4 mana and play around Unleash, because now it's going to be really difficult to actually clear the board with that combo, and he's going to put a lot into it as well.
A Mysterious Challenger is just going to swing things so heavily in Gaara's favor next turn. He can play super safe now, like you said, and then next turn drops the Challenger, he gets all the secrets, he fins his deck, all that nonsense, and then straight after that he drops Dot the Boom, and he should be in a position where he's going to just win the game. So it's going to be a real uphill battle here for CrossFire. He's not finding the cards he needs, like you said, the Unleash the Hounds. 2 of his animal companions, I mean, the Misha was pretty good, but the Huffer just did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the explosive trap's really important now, or even a Mad Scientist, just to put it on the board and hope it dies quickly. He's just going to go and realize that I need these cards to win this game, and without them I'm probably going to lose, so I may as well go fairly aggressive and just try and get some damage on the board. But Mysterious Challenger, you know, I'm not going to say it's going to end the game, but it's definitely going to help Gaara here. This board is getting progressively more difficult to deal with, and without Flare, everything's going to get 1-1 next turn. You know, it's just going to get a lot of damage. It potentially, how close is he to lethal with the weapon and the Consecrate as well? So that's an extra 4 damage on top of the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and then depending on if the 2-1 stays up through Redemption.
Oh, he should have lethal if all these secrets pop. I mean, Competitive Spirit's going to go off anyway, so he's going to get with the Competitive Spirit, the Redemption on the Noble Sacrifice, the Avenge, and the Consecrate into the card hammer. Gaara's bound to find enough.
I think CrossFire has to owl whatever. Well, there you go. Has to owl the Mysterious Challenger now. It does only save him 3 damage, but that 3 damage could actually just give him lethal.
Actually, so if he gets
2
down
secrets
here,
left: a Noble Sacrifice and Competitive Spirit.
The Competitive Spirit's going to take it up to 10, 14. Yeah, so he'll have 18 damage. So that will just be the win for him. It doesn't matter what Cameron does here.
Yeah. Because the problem is as well, it's not like he just cannot attack and maybe hold on for something more. He's actually just in such a bad position. And again, just Unleash is super important in this matchup. Similar to the way a Druid Swipe is really important. You need to clear those tokens off the Paladin, and also combining it with a Knife Juggler can just win you the game, but not drawing at any Mad Scientists or even just the straight up explosive traps has really hurt Cameron here, and Gaara's going to take that game pretty quickly.
Oh, he's going for the style play here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Goes for the juggles. He doesn't want to just
show it off.
Okay, Gaara.
So Gaara is going to tie this game up 1-1. So it's starting to look pretty even. I mean, Camlin had a very dominating game with that Druid, getting those double Fel Reavers. But on the flip side now, Gaara just kind of had that snowball secret Paladin game, which you see so often now.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, the Hunter not being able to, or not drawing into the explosive traps, which is a super key card in that matchup, really affects him there. And not, you know, it was just a bit awkward. Got the Misha, then the Huffer. It did proc the secret, but at the expense of a Huffer, which, you know, that's not really what he wants to see. Yeah, just straight up loses 4 damage. And look, continues to lose board control as well, which is pretty huge in these more aggressive matchups. But yeah, you know, Gaara played pretty well, but Secret Paladin's a powerful deck at the moment, so...
Well, the Paladin's gone at least, so no more Secret Paladins from Gaara. He does have Druid and Hunter left, and Camlin, of course, has his Hunter, which you've just seen, and he has his own Paladin, which is... wasn't the secret variant, it was more mid-range, if I remember.
No, it does have secrets, and it was just a more mid-range. We've seen so many different variations of the Secret Paladin. There's Secret Paladin with the same, you know, like the double versions of every secret, Mysterious Challenger and the aggressive format. Then there's the more late game that's quite common with Tyrion, Dr. Boom, and things like maybe even Lothar, that style. And then there's more control types that have like Mysterious Challenger and like just 5 secrets in the deck, just because the card in itself is pretty powerful. There's so many different versions that, you know, although the people not really a massive fan of the deck at the moment, I do like the fact that you can make it your own a little bit in terms of deck creation.
There's a bit of creativity involved. I mean, the fundamentals of the deck, the Challenger, don't directly influence how you build it, apart from a couple of secrets and the 2 6/6s. And then from there, you can kind of splash in little things you'd like, maybe like a Justica, Belchers maybe. You know, it does leave a lot of room for creativity. But speaking of Secret Paladin, he's back on it here, c4mlann. He's going to be able to see if he can give gaara a taste of his own medicine here, because gaara now has his Hunter.
Oh, Huffer round 2 though.
And he gets a hit face if he wants.
Yeah, that's definitely a bonus. I think he almost should at this point. Sometimes it can be better with a Huffer to actually say trade and leave it on 1 health, but make the opposite trade awkward to be able to finish the Huffer off. But no matter what he hits here, it's going to cause him issues because he can't clear all the tokens. So I think you know, just going face is pretty fine.
Maybe hit face with the Huffer and ping
ping the shield off the mini-bot with the creeper. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems okay. I mean, you could ping the shield off and trade into the mini-bot, but of course the mini-bot's going to get rid of the Huffer. You don't leave a Huffer around. But there is Coghammer to consider as well. But then again, does c4mlann want to tank 4 damage to the extra damage to the face from a Coghammer hit? So there's a lot of things to consider when using Huffer.
Yeah, I think the main thing for gaara is he can be aggressive because he has Juggler Unleash.
He has an aggressive hand.
Yeah, he has Juggler Unleash to deal with Musters that's coming up. And the thing is, I know people say, well, you know, we know Muster's in his hand, but when you're playing against Paladin, you play as if Muster is in their hand, because a lot of the time it is, and also it's so powerful that when you don't prepare for it, you lose the game.
This is where Coghammer just becomes amazing.
Yeah.
Such a good card. Definitely in this and recently, because it just gives so much protection against these aggressive decks, especially like Hunter. And he's just going to be able to clear that Beast as well, stop some Beast synergy, maybe like Houndmaster, and kill commands, stuff like that. So Snake Traps, what do you think of Snake Traps?
I like them. I don't know if I like them as much in a more aggressive Hunter, like Face Hunter, mainly because you do gain the tokens, but I kind of like the reliability of just double explosive and that's it. If it's, you know, we can see the Lothar, so it's not like super Face Hunter, but in the more hybrid styles, then I can see it more and more. In mid-range, I like it even more because it generates more board control. But, you know, I understand it's very good. I remember a tournament quite a while ago, one of the early Gfinity tournaments, where Firebat took a Face Hunter and put Snake Trap in it when not many people were actually playing it, and he went on to win the tournament. So, you know, the card choice isn't that terrible. But, you know, it's all, again, it's like we said, the traps again in Hunter are definitely just like your own style versus what's 100% the best.
And you want to keep it fresh as well. You don't want to be too predictable. I mean, double freezing is standard for mid-range. Hybrid was just running double freezing for a while. You're just expecting double explosive from face. But if you mix the traps up, you can throw kind of a curveball at your opponent. They'll initiate the trap ordering wrong. I think it was Born to Win yesterday. Thought it was freezing trap, but it was explosive. And then freezing trap got played after, and he sequenced it wrong because he made a bad read on the trap. So it just goes to show the strength of multiple traps. But anyway, Sludge Belcher coming down with lots of secrets down. It's looking really good for c4mlann.
Yeah, and c4mlann's quite far ahead now on board as well as health, and having the 2 secrets down that are actually Redemption and Avenge, and he knows it's Snake Trap. So he can, at this point, because he's ahead on board and health, and his hand is Blessing of Kings and a Noble Sacrifice, which is more of a defensive option, he can actually afford to just ignore whatever minions his opponent plays and just go face and try and close out this game pretty quickly.
And Blessing of Kings definitely complements that style. So Blessing of Kings is probably an amazing pickup in response to the Snake Trap, because now you don't want to give gaara loads of snakes. Sludge Belcher is obviously going to make that a little bit more difficult, but Blessing of Kings would have been a great way to keep putting the pressure on. And he has 2 of the best cards Paladin used for pressure, True Silver, well, damage at least, True Silver and Blessing of Kings. So that's 8 damage on 8 mana. So he does have the reach he needs going forward.
Yeah, and the True Silver Champion in this matchup is actually really important swing card, because the damage you can put out as well as the +2 health like gets you so far ahead, because Hunter kind of struggles to do anything more than 3 with, say, the bow. So the fact that you're doing 4 but creating a 6 damage gap is actually pretty huge. So like you said, that combined with Blessing of Kings is definitely going to give Camden an advantage here. It's just how he chooses to actually go about this. I imagine we're going to see Blessing of Kings onto the 1-1, so to kill the Sludge Belcher, because it just seems like a straightforward fit. And then maybe use the mini-bot to clear off the token. It's how afraid he is of Lothab, I guess.
And this is where Blessing of Kings truly shines. You hit these 1-1 tokens, turn them into 5-5 powerhouses, and then your 1-1 token is actually a big threat. So even now as a 5-2, it still can trade into a Lothab later or something of that strength. So Blessing of Kings definitely really shining in this metagame. And again, CrossFire going on the offensive. He has the cards he needs to finish the game.
Yeah, exactly. And he can guarantee almost 4 damage to face next turn, as well as a +2 heal. So he can negate Gaara's hero power for 1 turn, which again just gives him more time and really puts Gaara on a clock to be able to pull this match back. And with a Sludge Belcher and all those tokens, it's going to be really difficult. The Unleash is definitely going to be worthwhile. And this is what I said earlier regarding the Juggler Unleash can actually just win you this matchup as the Hunter. We'll see how good it's going to be though now, because he does have to start trading some stuff in. He can actually just straight up kill the Belcher. It does get avenged, so throws away a good chunk of minions, but the Juggler Unleash is actually going to do a hell of a lot of work now, and this is exactly what Gaara needs to be able to come back in this game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he not only did he cleared a lot of the big threats on the board, and fill his board up again with tokens from the Death Rattles. He can make a massive Unleash turn now, which is great, and it might be what he needs to get back in this game. Because although he had, like we were talking about, he had the Blessing of Kings and True Silver for the reach. That reach disappears once you lose your board, because Paladin needs the board so badly, whereas the Hunter, on the other hand, can just press the hero power and be very happy and still put pressure on.
Yeah, we'll see Gaara just clear up there. He left a 1-1 up, which was interesting, but the Mysterious Challenger, it could be enough. Especially because he can play the Noble Sacrifice as well.
The grumpiest man of Hearthstone, I would say, Mysterious Challenger. He is so grumpy. I don't know what is wrong with him. He's got issues.
Yeah,
that guy.
But don't ask him about him.
Don't ask him.
He won't tell you.
Oh, yeah.
He won't tell you.
Don't ask him any questions. So Challenger here can definitely swing things in his favor. But the thing is, Gaara has a lot of minions to work with to play around stuff like the Challenger. Maybe Scientists can find him a secret, which can lock the Challenger out, and he can still put some pressure on. And that hero power over time is definitely going to do its work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the problem here for CrossFire is his choice is just Slam, Challenger, and potentially Noble Sacrifice, because I think we've already seen one, I'm not sure. Or he can play Muster for battle and kill off the Knife Juggler, which again, you know, is only going to do more and more damage the longer it stays on the board. So it's a bit of a tough call, because the Muster for battle does gain him more board presence, and the Noble Sacrifice he can still play the Noble Sacrifice and still soak up an attack. So he's gone for the Challenger, and just to quickly go over the secret. So it is not a second Noble Sacrifice, a competitive spirit, and an Avenge. So not terrible, but there's no redemption. So, you know, again, he's going to probably struggle to keep hold of the board. But we'll see what he can actually do to deal with this. The High Main's a bit of a dead draw, as it might be a little bit too late for it to make much of an impact on this game.
It very much depends, I think, where this Avenge goes. I think so. What Gaara can do now, if he does know kind of if he has 2 freezing traps left, 1 snake, 2 freezing, he can actually just lock that Mysterious Challenger out and then play the High Main and then shoot. And then that way, this High Main's just not going to be able to do anything. There's no charge minions in the Paladin's deck. It's going to have to bounce. And then this High Main next turn can start swinging. And that's where Gaara can find his opportunities to win.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to be a problem for CrossFire. And as you said, being able to just pull on that freezing trap and get it activated, I mean, Paladin doesn't really have any charge minions in this deck. So there's not much he can do about it. And all that'll happen is, even if Gaara can't close out the game next turn, he will just keep leaving 1 minion on the board. He will trade his Savannah High Main into a 1-1 if he had to just keep that minion single and on its own, so that he will proc at the freezing trap and bounce back to hand. And Muster, definitely not what he needed there. So there's currently 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's actually lethal next turn quite easily, and there's not a lot. Even with the True Silver hit to gain +2, there's not too much that CrossFire can actually do about this, unfortunately.
And that's the power of freezing trap, especially if there's 1 minion under the board. And all those secrets that procced off and hit the Mysterious Challenger, they were all in vain. They did nothing. They
Yeah.
actually were wasted. So that freezing trap alone is just locking CfoamLann out of the game, and gaara's probably going to take this.
Yeah, so as an additional point, when you were talking about Blessing of Kings onto the 1-1, it's the same of an additional power of that, and of why it works so well in Paladin, is that cards like Avenge and Blessed of Kings that buff minions, you want to spread the power around. If you have one minion that's really really huge, and the rest are tiny or not even there, things like Freezing Trap, Big Game Hunter, Execute just lock you down. But if you can spread that across multiple minions, it's much harder for your opponent to deal with no matter what class he is. So having that just onto all the one minion and not spread around to make it more difficult is really tough. And is this going to be lethal here? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
There is a Noble Sacrifice.
Oh, Noble Sack's down, so he's going to be one off then. Unfortunately for gaara. Let's see how he actually continues to play this out, because he kind of has to clear the board again, right?
You just clear the one.
You just clear the board, hero power, and then you're not, and then you're not one off anymore. You've done your damage.
And that's all you need to do. Just keep locking this challenger out. You can play Argent Horse Rider. You can use all his minions to clear, drop the spinner, and then he throws it back to CfoamLann and said, have you got an answer again? And the answer will probably be no. I don't. So
I'm just going to say, guys, I called it. The Savannah High main did trade into a 1-1 before the end of the game. And Secret Keeper's not going to do much, unfortunately.
It's the classic lock you out with Freezing Trap. And this is a tactic that very much works on Druid. Especially the old style Druids before Aspirant, because they started to kind of curve out from 4 onwards. And if you could lock their one card a turn out with stuff like Freezing Trap, that's why Mid-Range Hunter had such an advantage against Druid, because they generally just play the one minion a turn, Freezing Trap bounces, and they lose so much tempo, and the Hunter can keep putting pressure on. And this is exactly what gaara's doing. The old Druid tactic.
Yeah, they really struggle to actually come back. Especially they need to definitely just drop minions, change up, similar to the way Hunter plays. They need to just drop minion after minion on curve and gain the board presence through that. But that is going to be the win for gaara and his Hunter deck.
So gaara 2-1. He is one game away from going to China and having a shot at least $3,000 coming second place and $8,000 for first place. So gaara is almost there once again to qualify for this event. He needs to win one more game. CfoamLann's not out of it yet. CfoamLann, sorry, is not out of it yet. He could still come back. He is a 33 times legend player, so he's put a lot of work into this game. So they're going right into it. gaara just has his Druid left, because CfoamLann still has 2 decks, his Paladin and his Hunter. No, his Hunter, yeah. His Hunter. So this is the aggressive Druid that's been flying around. The power of Fel Reaver, which we've been talking about.
I like this Druid. I've been playing this deck quite a lot lately, and it feels so strange to have a Druid that has early board presence, because normally Druid's been in sort of the same spot for so long that you don't normally, used to seeing, he's doing a 2-drop and then a 3-drop, going really quickly. And even with the Living Roots for getting that early double 1-1s that he's just drawn into, I almost called it perfectly there. So, it's a pretty good deck. This is probably going to rely on how CfoamLann can deal with the aggressive board. We can see now that gaara could actually coin into Juggler into Dionysus Aspirant if he wanted to, which is a pretty reasonable start, because as we know, Paladin doesn't do too well to clear minions when he's behind on board. You see Living Root's going to come down though, and I imagine the coin into Aspirant's the more realistic choice, just to get that ramp up. The Innovate into Aspirant, sorry. Because this still leaves coin for next turn. So
he still had the option of Shade there as well if he wanted to get an early Shade. Because once that Shade grows beyond 2 health, it's very hard to kill it, because it can just kind of stay in the shadows. And of course, it's still protected now. He can it'll grow 1 turn, and Consecrate will be out of reach. And this is the one way Paladin deals with this battle, is through the mess of the battle using that weapon. So the ramp is gone, but she's kind of done her work already, right?
Yeah, this is a little bit scary now for gaara, to be honest, because he does only have the Shade, and it's similar to what we said earlier. If CfoamLann's got a board full of minions and the Druid doesn't draw the key card in this matchup, which is Swipe, even as the aggro Druid, Swipe's super important, he could fall behind on board. And if you look at his hand now, he has Juggler and he has the Druid of the Saber, which is very nice, but it still doesn't guarantee the board clear, and he almost has to use this Shade into the 2-2 to stay ahead. Because like with most aggro decks, if you fall behind early on, you are going to lose that game unless something crazy happens.
I mean, what he could do here, this might be a bit too much. He could knife juggler, coin, Druid of the Save into charge form, and then the knife would hopefully hit a 1/1, and then he could run the charge form minion into the 2/2. But it looks like he's just going to go for all the stealth guys here, stay in the shadows, clear up a 1/1, and maybe be able to push some damage next turn.
This is a really brave play though, because Consecrate, although it wouldn't kill the Shade, removes that 3/2 straight off the bat. So he's relying on the Consecrate not being in hand versus the minion hitting for 2 or just dying to a token, get like guaranteed.
Ooh, Argus, a very nice play there, going to make these minions a lot more durable and a lot more of a problem for gaara. The taunt and the stats alone are going to be really hard for him to punch through without using his minions, and he doesn't really want to. He wants to be able to put some pressure on his health, but he gets a clean trade on the mini bot there. He has to reveal his Shade, Knife Juggler, and well, he deals with most of the board, but the Shade now gets taken out quite easily.
Yeah, so what he's doing is put himself in a position where, unless again there's an answer from the Paladin, yes, he can kill the Shade quite easily, but he kind of needs to deal with the Juggler as well. He does have Loatheb to follow up, but the Druid's now running out of juice. And this is a big problem because c4mlann's still got some pretty nice cards. He has Redemption for Sludge Belcher next turn. He has Peacekeeper to deal with any big minion he doesn't really want to mess about with. And Knife Juggler for any additional cards to create some juggles. But Challenge is pretty nice. That's normally a good card. He's going to play his... what secrets do we have? Let's have a look. Competitive Spirit, Avenge, and Noble Sacrifice. So not too shabby.
That's pretty good. Savage Combatant's going to find some value here if he wants the hero power to clear up the Sludge Belcher. But there's another Noble Sacrifice is there protecting it as well. That challenge was a huge draw for him there. He did have Aldo Peacekeeper as an option to kind of lock out that Loatheb, but still the challenger.
It suffers from Dr. Boom syndrome. If you have that card on turn 6 and you're not about to die next turn, and even sometimes when you are about to die next turn, you almost certainly drop Challenger. And again, the Druid's going to eat up the token now from the card I'm going to continue to forget its name, Noble Sacrifice, that's the one. I don't know why I keep forgetting that card.
He just passes.
Oh, did he just pass?
It looks like he did.
Oh, okay. So he didn't want to create the Chain of Secrets. So what's interesting is when the Mysterious Challenge is played and there's only 3 secrets, you've got to try and guess what they are. And we can see that Redemption is in hand. I don't think we've seen another Redemption. So is this deck only running 1? It's a bit of a strange one. I don't know whether we saw a Redemption on it earlier on. I can't quite recall.
So it must be just one Redemption.
And this is pretty scary though, because although we can see that gaara's got Dr. Boom to drop down, look at this for a double Aldo board.
Double Aldo.
Just play double Aldo,
Redemption.
Get Redemption up, enjoy the rest of your game, gaara. That's probably what c4mlann's feel like now. Clears off one of the minions, play Redemption. You'd imagine that the Sludge Belcher is going to die first, just as, because it has that taunt, and Druid's quite a physical attack class. And there's, and there's the concede. So
wow. gaara, he's not playing with this nonsense. He's not letting this Paladin run a train over him. He's just going to get this game out the way. Now, gaara and c4mlann
one game
away from China. So now this matchup has become really tense, and they're going right into it, not wasting any time here.
Yeah, and something to note very briefly is that the loser of this game and the loser of the next game will actually play each other for the last spot, which is pretty intense.
Yeah, this is where the money is, and this is where your trip to China is. So last game, guys, can gaara proceed to China with the win, or will c4mlann, the 33 times legend god, go through instead?
We are going to see that c4mlann is playing his Hunter. Not got the best of openings. Glaive Zuka's really nice, but you definitely need those minions like Creeper or Leponoma. Something early on to get that benefit. And also, because he knows he's playing against the Druid, he can tailor his hand a little bit just to be, I think, a little bit more aggressive, because the Druid can normally, if you can run away with the board a little bit early on, Druid really struggles. But innovate, coin, Druid of the Claw, he has Swipe. gaara's not got a lot of options, but his options are pretty damn good.
Like you said, this Hunter's just going to want to race him straight from the get-go. And he should win the race with hero power, unless innovate, coin, Druid of the Claw, and
that's normally a problem.
Yes. That just doesn't seem fair.
c4mlann's probably, and that's the sort of thing that can actually throw you off. You in your last game, pretty important match against an extremely strong player, and they draw into double innovate into Druid of the Claw, which It's happened to all of us, hasn't it? It doesn't necessarily mean Gaara's going to win this game, though, because that's a lot of resources into one card. But we can see that CrossFire's going to struggle a little bit. He's got to take a lot of damage, and he does have quick shot for next turn, or probably more realistically, the Argent Horse Rider.
So he gets the clear and gets his trap here. I mean, he could have coin shaded Gaara, but coin low feb on 4 because he has no turn 4 play is a lot better. Oh, there's a turn 4 play. But secrets. So these guys are running all sorts of secrets. It is just going to be explosive. So that's actually not going to be to clear the shade now because he's going to grow. But it's going to put on a little bit of pressure. And now what CrossFire needs to do is now start doing damage. He's a face hunter. It's turn 3 and he's on 31 health.
Yeah, I kind of like, because you're coming up to a swipe turn, I kind of like the bear trap here into hero power, because if he attacks, yes, it procs the swipe, but he would need to attack with the shade to make that possible, which means the shade dies, so you've traded your trap for your shade, and you've done some more damage, which is pretty nice, and made the druid not play any minions on his turn, so the shade will go to 3/3 actually, so it's going to struggle. It won't quite die, it'll just have the 1 health left.
So now Gaara's got to do the guessing game. What traps are there? If he did his homework, he would have seen at least a few of the traps from CrossFire's games yesterday. But it looks like he's not going to attack at all and just leave him there. Arcane Golem's going to come down. And he just needs to start putting damage down and rinse that hero power as much as possible. That hero power is almost like a card draw for a Faith Hunter.
Yeah, he just needs to start stacking up the damage, like you said, because the problem now is Gaara's still got a lot of cards, a lot of options, and the shade's always growing as well, so suddenly Druid combo, or even just a Savage Roar with a few minions on the board, is going to just be lethal straight out of the bat. So, Worgen Infiltrator, the 2 secrets are nice, the extra 2 damage from Explosive is nice for it's like additional hero power, but at the moment, even the Owls doesn't look too great, because you'd imagine the shade's not going to come out until lethal's already available, and he's already seen 1 Druid of the Claw, so there's 1 taunt that you don't need to silence in this deck.
It looks like he's just going to slam Dr. Boom here with the coin. Like you said, putting a lot of pressure on here. Owl's not going to be able to do anything to the Dr. Boom. He finds a Leponome as well, a very slow card there. He wants to probably find maybe an Animal Companion or maybe another Arcane, something just to put pressure on, because now there's the threat from the Druid. It has the board, it has these high damage minions, and Savage Roar, like you said, is going to be something that's going to be very scary. Yeah,
and Gaara's now got the ability to attack. He can see what the traps are, and if it is bear, he can easily deal with it. He has Swipe available, and he can still swipe, play Druid of the Saber and Leponome, which is not the worst turn in the world, especially after proccing an explosive trap. Gaara is on 15 health though, so he's not completely come out of this unscathed, but it's not too bad. The Swipe's probably going to clear this up. Oh, and I imagine he's just going to drop the 2 minions, and that's going to be pretty rough for CrossFire to come back here.
He's running away. Actually, keeping the Druid of the Saber is quite a good idea. I was just thinking, because you have it in charge form then, don't you? So it's that 2 damage that he doesn't see, he doesn't know about.
And also he can proc a second explosive trap, then go into Druid of the Saber for the additional damage. Completely agree. He is going to silence and quick shot. He does have another quick shot. That's not enough. But, there we go. That's going to be it. It was if he was going to go for a quick shot into I don't know what to try and save him. But, there we go. That's going to be the game.
Wow, so Gaara, a very quick game. We were talking about how intense and how important that last game was, and it ended in moments. It was just so quick. 2 aggro decks just going at it.
Yeah, and that's it. And it, just a really quick game, and the trap coming out, the explosive not doing too much. Definitely the turn 1 Druid of the Claw helped Gaara out just a little bit in that matchup.
So Tempo Storm boys will be very happy here for Gaara. He is going to China now, and he is going into the grand finals. His opponent will be deciding soon when we go into the next game. CrossFire is not out of it just yet. He's got the 3rd place match to play a little bit later. So any CrossFire fans out there, don't worry, your guy has still got an opportunity to win. Any thoughts on those games?
Yeah, I mean, a bit back and 2 really, weren't they? The Paladin games played a lot like Secret Paladin does, so they were pretty standard. And again, a lot of the aggro matchups, I think a lot of the time you find 2 types of aggro, like double aggro matchups. It's either decided quite heavily on who gets the strongest start, or about who can trade the best, because a lot of people think that aggro is just face, but actually it has a very intricate level of when to trade and when not to, and that can actually win you games in themselves. But there, I think we just saw a really strong hand from gaara, and gaara played it well, which we would expect him to do. c4mlann played pretty well as well. You know, he didn't really do too much that I would disagree with, but you know, again, the power of Innovate and Druid just, I think, got him too far ahead there.
Well, it was kind of Worgens versus Druid of the Claws, right, on turn
Yeah.
1. So let's take a look at the bracket before we go forward. So gaara will go through to the grand finals. Coming up next, we do have Crane from London Conspiracy. He'll be going up against Millennium's Alex. And Millennium's Alex, yesterday, he just stomped Born to Win. So he showed out a lot of strength going forward in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it was really strong playing there. So, you know, we'll see how I can perform versus Crane. I mean, we know Crane, but we can talk about that afterwards, can't we? We can get that after the break when we see the match.
So if you guys would like to know more information about this tournament or the organization itself, be sure to check out WCA's website, which is below. And if you'd like to drop us a tweet or just drop the event a tweet, be sure to hit us up on Twitter for our handles, or just use hashtag WCA Europe. So we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have some more Hearthstone, and then we'll have the decider to see who goes into the grand final. So be back shortly.